It's the beginning of summers and Shasta Daisy is in full bloom, as you can see here. It looks so beautiful, so majestic, and so simple. So today we are going to talk about how to grow Shasta daisies from seeds. So Shasta daisy is a delicate perennial. In zones 8 and above, they will survive the winters. They'll maintain their leaves all through the winters and bloom in summers. In colder climates, you'll have to prune them down to the bottom and then cover them with the mulch. So I just got my Shasta daisy seeds. So I'm going to plant them today. So in this planter, I have regular potting soil mix. So, and these seeds are tiny. I'm going to just scatter them. And I forgot to mention that it is middle of summers. So I should have planted these seeds earlier, but whenever I got the seed, I am planting. Because the seeds are tiny, so just a little bit is enough. I'm going to water it and cover it with a lid and leave it outside. And as they start to germinate, I'll keep you posted. So I'm going to leave this planter in a warm place. It doesn't need any light, but I'll keep the soil moist so that seeds germinate. It's been about 6 weeks and quite a few seeds have germinated. So once they start to germinate, you have to make sure that you water them consistently so that they grow healthy. And this planter is in partial sun now, so that they get enough sun to grow nicely, but they are not in full sun that they wilt in the harsh sun. It's been about 2 months and the plants are looking really healthy. Now it's the beginning of fall, so I don't think it's going to bloom now, but I'll just keep watering it and make sure that they survive the winters, and let's hope that they bloom in the next summer. So they are still in partial sun, so they get filtered sunlight. They are under a tree and they get 3-4 hours of sunlight, and then they get indirect sunlight. Since the plants are still young, I'm going to leave them in container and wait for them to bloom in the summers, and once they finish blooming, I'll plant them in the ground. Because by then the plants would have grown fully and matured, so the chances of them dying are less. There are 2 ways of propagating Shasta daisies. One is by root division and one is by seeds. So in this video you saw how I propagated them from seeds, and maybe I'll prepare another video of propagation through roots. There are many different varieties of Shasta daisies. Some are very short, like less than 1 foot tall, and some are taller like this one. And then accordingly you have to decide whether you want to plant them in the ground or you want to plant them in a container, because shorter varieties are better for container, and taller varieties are better for the ground. So mine is a tall variety, so I will plant them in the ground once they finish blooming in this season. So whenever you plant something in a container, you have to be very careful about taking care of it, because it has limited amount of soil and nutrients and limited amount of water. So you have to make sure that you replenish the nutrients and you are very consistent with water. If the same plant is in the ground, then the roots can go deep down and find water, and the soil in the ground has all sorts of nutrients and micronutrients, and so they are able to survive better even with some neglect. So when the plants are young, it is better to keep them in containers, because then you can control the environment of the container. You can keep them inside or outside. You can put under the tree or in full sun, wherever you think is the best for that plant. But once they are mature, it is better to plant them in the ground because then you don't have to take care of them that much. Once the plants mature, you want them in full sun for at least 4 or 5 hours. That's when you will get the best blooms. And now Shasta daisies are in full bloom. And imagine if these many plants, if you just multiply them, say 5 times, then you will get this whole cluster of blooming Shasta daisies all summer long. So as the flowers are spent, I'm going to cut them out, and then that will give way. For example, if you look at this one, so this is still blooming, and once it is spent, I'll go down the stem and cut it here, because here more buds are coming out. So I'll just cut it here above these buds, so it will spend more energy on these buds, and they'll just keep blooming more and more. That's what you want to do. You want to deadhead the flowers, the spent flowers, so that the energy is spent in making more flowers instead of making the seeds. So it is pretty simple. You plant the seeds in spring or summer. They start sprouting in a few weeks, and then you just consistently keep watering them, and they may not bloom that summer, but they will survive the frost over the winters. If you have very cold winters, then maybe you want to bring them inside. Otherwise, like I'm in zone 9B, and they survived the winters fine. There was no damage because of the frost. And then as spring arrived, they started growing and developing buds, and now you can see that they are blooming very nicely. So depending on where you live, you may not need to prune these daisies. If you are in a climate where the winters are mild, they may even maintain the green leaves and you don't have to cut them down. But if you live in an area where the winters are harsh, you may have to cut it down almost to the bottom and then cover it with a thick layer of mulch, like 6 inches of mulch, so that the roots are not destroyed in harsh winters. So I hope this video was informational to you. If you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll try to answer as soon as possible. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share it with your friends and family. And I'll see you next time. Happy gardening. Bye.